Who is Dreux Antoine? Dreux Antoine is a little boy from New Orleans, Louisiana. Comes from a big family full of love, many siblings, cousins, aunts, uncles, your typical average family, surrounded by love, surrounded by a lot of history, culture. Growing up in the French Quarters in New Orleans, attended St. Louis Cathedral School, and then I went on to Francis W. Gregory and then John F. Kennedy for high school. So I got to experience a lot of New Orleans. I got a chance to travel all over, even at a young age, and to see that New Orleans was its own special destination while visiting other places, because I realized that no other place could do it like New Orleans could do it. So that kind of just poured into who Dreux Antoine is. Dreux Antoine is uncle. Dreux Antoine is brother. Dreux Antoine is friend. Dreux Antoine is little boy who had big dreams, who knew that he was called for a greater purpose in this life, but just didn't know exactly what the route and the journey would be. Dreux Antoine is someone who never gives up, never allows any obstacle to overwhelm, overtake him. I'm talking about myself in the third person because I want you all to understand and hopefully inspire others that's also traveling this journey to understand what it takes and how it is to become a great success. So the Dreux Antoine brand, which is actually my first and middle name legally, I branded it to become the actual brand. So that's when you see Dreux Antoine. But Dreux Antoine is the businessman that never gives up. Dreux Antoine is the person that will continue to fight for what is right, not only as a businessman, but as a human being, as a philanthropist. Dreux Antoine is the one that will make sure that others are taken care of before, taking care of himself. That's Dreux Antoine. I was just born into that type of family where we always looked out for other people, and put others, ahead of ourselves, because we just believe that that's how it's supposed to be. We're not selfish people. So that's all of what Dreux Antoine incorporates. Dreux Antoine is just not a brand, but it's also the person who comes from that good family, that hometown family, that love, that connection, that history, that culture, all of that became and helped Dreux Antoine to become what it is today. And there's still plenty more to go. So I introduced to you guys the Dreux Antoine of today, and I will look forward to seeing where we are come in the future, where Dreux Antoine will be in 5-10 years from now. It may be a different Dreux Antoine. I have a different hairstyle, a different hair color. Dreux Antoine is always changing, always evolving, always adapting to the current times and trends. So that is Dreux Antoine. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome, Dreux Antoine. Some of my biggest role models and influencers are a combination of a lot. Family, my friends, people that I've been able to work with in my career. I start with like my grandparents. My grandmother, my mom's mom, I was just attached to her hip at a very early age. And then our relationship blossomed from just a typical grandmother-grandson to almost friends. My culinary experience and love and passion for culinary actually evolves from being in the kitchen with her as a little boy, 5 years old, just watching grandmother cook dinner for the family. So if you guys remember Soul Food, the movie and the show, that was actually our family long before Soul Food was even in existence. So when it came out, I just saw us. So my grandmother would be one of my greatest influencers, and then also my mom. My mom raised 3 kids, and she did it all by herself. She managed some way, somehow, and I just saw how strong she was, and she did the best she could with what she had, and that's why I consider her one of my biggest influencers, because I gained my strength and my will because of watching her press through it. It's not easy to raise 3 kids, work a full-time job, and then also go to school and earn a bachelor's degree. So she managed to do all of that, while raising kids and trying to be the best mother that she could be. So I give a lot of props and love to my mom. And then just kind of going into the industry and really building myself, I came across so many different people. My other grandmother, my dad's mom, who was this world famous dancer. I watched her dance all over the country, all over the world, and I really built the love of art and music and all of that from watching her, spending time with her, learning more about my ancestors and my history, my culture. I learned a lot from her. I'll never forget, she ended up giving me a journal. I was probably about 13, 14 years old. She gave me a journal from when she visited Africa, and she wanted me to begin journaling. And of course, at 14, you have no idea what that is. But as she began to talk to me and tell me some of the stories about our ancestors and history, and just some things for me to be able to conceptualize and think over, I began to journal. It just became one of my things, and then the journaling turned into being able to write music. So my grandparents, some of my biggest influencers, and then I got a chance to work with so many different people in New Orleans and all around the country. My pastor, Bishop Darrell Brister, Bishop Paul Martin, they poured so much into me at a very early age. My goddad, he poured into me as well. He's actually the one that got me into, and he's a lifeline actually. He saved me. He saved me from going down a very dangerous path. I was the kid that was just trying to find himself and stealing the car, staying out late, talking back to my mom, all of that. But he got a hold of me and he embraced me, and he's actually the one that helped save me and made sure that I didn't go down that dangerous road. So that's, again, another family influencer. But I've worked with many artists along the way, like Adara Coley, Yolanda Adams. I've had an opportunity to work and sing with them. Maze Warren is one of my big brothers, and he's also a pastor friend from New Orleans. So, I mean, there's just a long list of people. Like, I don't want to just name people because I feel like I would miss some people. But those are the biggest influencers because they actually help me to build and grow and to learn who I am, to figure this thing out called life. They poured enough into me so that I could eventually, fly out on my own and figure it out on my own with everything that they had given me. So those are some of the biggest influencers of my life, of my career, and then of course, as an adult and recently I've met so many different people in college that has helped me, like my piano teacher, Dr. Jerry Wallace, and Dr. Michael Crawford. Like, they poured into me. They weren't just professors, they were actually like father figures, and they were white. And here comes this little black boy from New Orleans that they just embraced and loved on, and they gave me everything that I needed to become a better musician, a better singer, a better piano player. They invested into me. So those are the influencers in my life that I give all credit, all praise, all glory to, because they deserve it. They deserve it, and I honor them. So that's the biggest influencers for me. There are many more that I've met, but those would be the biggest influencers of my life. Trying to explain all of the businesses and stuff that I have, that'll take forever and a day. So I started out doing catering in Dallas when I evacuated New Orleans in 2005. Of course, people learned that I was from New Orleans, and then I got the challenge. Well, if you're from New Orleans, then cook us something. So I cooked something, they loved it, and it grew from there. So I started catering in Dallas, and then that grew, and then I eventually decided to take on a career in culinary because I just felt like it was the right thing for me. Transitioning from education, being a music teacher, I just felt that calling and that push to do culinary. And because I felt that I'm talented and gifted in multiple areas, I wanted to be able to tap into all of my talents and gifts and not just divulge it to just one thing. So that's how the catering components began. So when I moved to Houston in 2011, I believe, I ended up coming across my friend Ben. He and I worked together at a place, a new restaurant in Houston. And we both had the same dreams, the same goals, the same objectives. So we decided to become business partners, and we went into business together. And then that birthed Houston Cafe. And then from Houston Cafe, we expanded from Houston to the Houston metro area, which includes Austin and all Galveston, Beaumont, all of the surrounding areas. And then we went on to expand out to Dallas, and then we started the Flaming Skillet catering concept in Dallas, and then also in New Orleans, and then recently we expanded to Los Angeles. So we have Houston Cafe, which of course is in Houston, and the Houston Metro. We have the Flaming Skillet, which is in New Orleans, Dallas, Los Angeles, and the metro areas. And these are catering concepts, but the goal is to eventually open up restaurant spaces for each of those in the cities that we're operating in. And then we have Jaito Entertainment Group, formerly Jaito Productions, which is the company that all of the music comes from under, all of the music recordings, the entertainment, the live shows that we've done in the various cities. Everything comes under that umbrella, the Jaito Entertainment Group. And then I recently launched my Soulful Chef product line, back in 2016. So the cooking show that I host and produce is under the Soulful Chef brand. Our culinary products is under Soulful Chef. The spices, the frozen foods, all of that will be under the Soulful Chef brand. So it's a few different brands under one, and then working towards launching the publishing companies for each, which will be the Dreux Antoine Publishing Group, to be able to oversee all of the publishing that we're doing, both musically, the cookbooks, all of those things. And then being able to take on other people as well, because I've come into contact with other chefs, other professionals, and of course other musicians and artists who not only looking for a label to take them on, but to also be able to release cookbooks and stuff like that. So all of that is the brand. So you have the Flaming Skillet, Houston Cafe, Jaito Entertainment Group, Soulful Chef Company, and then also Dreux Antoine Publishing. That's all of the businesses and companies that I have up to date. Eventually there will be more because I also want to tap into the fashion industry, and also real estate and other ventures that I want to tackle into. So that's where we are right now. So building anything from the ground up comes with all kind of challenges. I mean, you name it, it's on there. I think one of the biggest, of course, would always be the financial aspect of everything. It costs money to do anything in this day and time, and I mean a lot of it. So the financial aspect has always been one of the biggest challenges. I mean, I've poured so much into building my businesses. I've gone into bankruptcy several times to build business because I just knew that I believed in it. And even though I didn't necessarily have the leadership or the guidance to actually, take it on and know what to do and how to do it and all of those things. I learned the hard way, which is why I had to file bankruptcy even in my 20s, because I was trying to build a business and then it didn't work out like I had hoped and planned. And it affected me on the personal side. So once I figured that side of it out is when I really began to see the difference and the changes and begin to see that you can actually do it. I could actually do it. It's doable. It's possible. You just have to really manage and plan everything out. Some of the other challenges that I face is coming into contact with people who are not really understanding what's needed to build from the ground up, to build a brand, to build a business or a company, to build an image. You're working with a lot of people who just want to check and just want to be paid and go home, and that's just not what it is. Like, if your heart isn't in it, then you're not really going to be able to do it. If you're just here just to make the money, then that's good for you, but that's just not how it is in this business. So another challenge has always been the lack of finding the right people to work with. Another challenge has always been trying to come up with a way to make sure that you're appealing to everybody. It's good that you have a talent or a gift, you can sing or you think you can sing and all of that. But now how do you bring it over to the people that actually have to buy it? How do you make them interested? What do you have to do to make them interested and want to support you? That was another challenge and obstacle that I had to deal with, being a singer, musician, chef, cookbook author, all of those things. Like, I have to figure out a way to brand all of that into one, and that was the biggest challenge. And like in 2017, maybe, having the discussion with one of my mentors, Matthew Knows, he and I were discussing some things, and the conversation came up about how do you brand something that's multi-branded, multifaceted? How do you brand it into one? And he explained to me, well, historically, if you've watched the trend of some of the popular entertainers and artists in the business now, they started off doing that one thing, and then when they became famous and they succeeded at that, that's when they branded out and started doing other things. And I said, okay, so will that work in this 21st century era? Because that was in 20th century. And of course, we always look at the success of Destiny's Child and Beyonce, Solange. We always revert back to them because they are successful. And of course, the things that he's done with them obviously work because they are who they are today. But they're not necessarily in the categories that I'm in. So I was like, so let me challenge you and ask you, do you think it's possible to do all of them at one time and just kind of slowly build? And he said, yeah, it's possible, but you're going to kill yourself. I said, well, what about if you're doing it one by one? You'll most likely will kill yourself doing it that way too. And of course, he's like dad, he's like a father, so we go back and forth a lot. So I said, well, I think I'm going to go this route. I think I want to just, do it all at one time. Because in my mind, I'm thinking, listen, I don't know what tomorrow holds. I just know who holds tomorrow. So if I don't get it done now, I don't know if it'll ever get done. So let me just go ahead and do it this way and just see if it works. And that's what I did. And then lo and behold, it just started coming together. And I was really figuring it out, not having a big brand or agency or anyone working on my team to help me or to build it. I was really doing it on my own and just building the connections with the right people, which is how I was able to really overcome a lot of the obstacles in getting the support. So I will probably, I'm probably actually the only contemporary urban gospel artist that's actually been able to garner sponsorships from an adult beverage company. So through the Soulful Chef cooking show, I've been able to garner sponsorships from Sutter Home, the Trinchero family, which makes the Moscatos and wines and all of those things that we actually use for the cooking show. And that was a big deal for me because there's no other artist that has that backing, that has the support of an adult beverage company. And of course, we all drink it. They may not want to admit it, but I'm sure they all drink something when they're at home. Everybody's not just drinking water and tea. So that was a big thing for me to be able to get that level of support and sponsorship, and to overcome that obstacle, because there are a lot of artists that have a hard time branding and getting the sponsorships. But once I learned that, I knew I was onto something. So I was able to get sponsorships from Sutter Home. I was able to get sponsorships from Meyer Corporation through the Analon Gourmet Cookware. And of course, if you are familiar with Meyer, you know that they make Paula Deen, Rachel Ray, Gordon Ramsay. They make all of their culinary products. It's the same corporation. So I was able to get sponsorships through them as well for the cooking show. And then also doing the deal to get distribution on the music side, which is one of the reasons why I love Dr. Matthew Knowles and him being my mentor, because through our partnership, I have distribution through him, and then also through Universal Music Group, which is the largest. So it's just, figuring it out so that you don't have to let the obstacles tear you down and wear you out and kill you and all of those things. Figure it out and then build that relationship so that you can probably minimize a lot of the self-inflicted obstacles, if you will, by just being a good person and just really being genuine and allowing people to help you, so that you don't have to face the obstacles alone. Being a good student, listening to some advice from the people that have traveled this road before you, so that they can give you some insight on what not to do, where not to go, how not to do it, all of those things. Just being able to listen and really help yourself in that journey. So there have been many obstacles, but through the obstacles came the learning portion, building the knowledge and seeing how to grow from the mistake and not making the same mistake over and over again, expecting a different result, just doing everything however I wanted to do it. I took chances, some failed, some were great. I listened to the advice, some of it worked, some of it didn't. So I just combined all of that together to see what can I do so that it works for me. So that's the obstacles that I've had to face, and some of the benefits of going through those obstacles. There's always a blessing attached to everything. So you just have to think positive and just stay focused, and you'll get it. So I'm working on a few different projects right now. I have the Soulful Chef cookbook line. I'm releasing the second cookbook, the vegan and vegetarian edition, in October of 2020. And then I'll also be releasing the next one in 2021. So it's a series, so every year we'll be releasing the next version of that series. So at the end of all of that, there's over 200 recipes that people would have learned through the cookbooks. I'm also working to build the Soulful Chef product line. So we're working on spices right now, and we're in testing and development for that. I'm also doing the frozen foods. So we're doing testing and development for that. Because of COVID, a lot has been postponed and just slowed down. We couldn't do a lot because everything is closed, and we just wanted to make sure that we were protecting all of our partners, all of our staff, and everything. I'm also working on new music. I'll be releasing my new project called Jesus is Love, which is actually a cover song from Lionel Richie and Commodores. I'll be releasing that this year, as well as I work towards releasing the full project sometime in 2021 under the Jaito Entertainment Group label. And then I also have some TV and film projects that I'm working on. Teamed up with Bunna Murray to release a prank show idea called Gotcha. We were scheduled to do the testing and development for that, but of course because of COVID we had to postpone it because Hollywood pretty much shut down. So once we get the clearance that will resume, making sure we can do what needs to be done to make that happen. And then I'm also working on building the business sides of everything, all of the restaurants concepts that I have, and those things. I'm looking to really get those running and off the ground post COVID, because of course right now there's not much that we can do. The restaurant, the food and hospitality in total took the biggest hit, of course, with the airline industry. So right now we're just waiting to watch things build and I guess regain some type of normalcy, so that we can continue on with the plans to build the business side of everything. So with the cookbooks, the music, building the food line and the spices, all of those things, I got my hands into a lot, and there's a lot more that I want to do. But right now we're really limited. So I'm working on those things and making sure that once we get that green light, we can move forward. Sometimes I have no way of answering the question when people ask, how do you balance everything? I honestly don't know. I really don't. It's just every day I wake up and like, thank you, Lord, for waking me up. Now let me figure out what I got to do today. And that's pretty much how I flow. I've learned now as an adult to it's better to plan things out for the day. So have an organizer and have your list of goals that you want to obtain for that day, and just reminders of what you need to be doing or need to do, so that you don't just lose track, because it's easy just to get sidetracked. So finding a balance, I'm not even sure if I can answer that accurately, because for me it's different things. I mean, I will be in the middle of doing something and working or whatever, and then I'll just stop, get in a car, and just go and drive somewhere. And then I'll come back and finish just like I never left, because for me, that's just the way I have to deal with it, and that's what works, for me. So finding balance, I guess, would be just making sure that you take the time for yourself, you give enough time for the work, for the problems, for the family, whatever, and then making sure you also take the time for yourself, and whatever that is, whatever it is that helps you to relax and to be at peace. Do that. I'm a homebody. I like being at home, watching movies, playing with the dogs, and just chilling. That's me. I don't have to be out at a party or a club and all of that to feel fulfilled. I'd rather be at home watching it on TV rather. So you do what you need to do for you to find the balance that works for you, because the balance for me is all over the place. And I wouldn't recommend everyone doing that, because it might not be a good thing for you. But just finding that time for yourself is the best way I can define the balance, because it's all over. It's anything from going and spending time at a spiritual dwelling, spending time with mom, grandmom, all of those. It can be any of those things. That's part of finding that balance. And then of course, if you have any type of health concerns or anything like that, then you definitely want to make sure that you do what you need to do to find balance, so that you're not overwhelming your body, and you're not really doing too much to send you to the hospital or to send you somewhere even worse. So find the balance. The balance for Dreux is just what I stated. It can be anything. I'll wake up and want to go somewhere and go do that, and then I'll come back and finish working, or I'll just close myself off inside the apartment, and just think and dwell and just really focus on myself and focus on what I need to be doing, and to try to get those things taken care of. So that's finding the balance for Dreux. My favorite thing to do when I'm not working would probably be going to the park with my dogs and just watching them run free. For some reason, I find so much peace and just watching them enjoy themselves. Because in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, they're not guaranteed to be here, and I mean, this is proof. They're not guaranteed to be here for a long time. Although we don't know how long we'll be on this earth, it's pretty much etched in stone for our animals. So I really find peace just taking them to the dog park and watching them run free and having a good time, and really spending time with them, and just really being to myself, being home, watching TV, listening to my music, just reflecting on things, and just really spending time with God. I really like to, take trips and road trips, fly off as many times my mom can tell you, where I've just booked a flight and just got on a plane and flew, and I would call her and tell her, hey, I'm in this city, and she would be upset, like, why you didn't tell me? Like, I'm out. I just gotta go. That's just how I gotta do it. So that's really what works for me. And because I don't necessarily have wife and kids or anything like that, it's just me and the dogs, and I can drop them off anywhere really, and be good. PetSmart is my best friend, so that's really what works for me. And you just gotta find what works best for you. I do like going to museums and different things like that. I do like live music when it's really live music. I'm not just talking about the DJ and somebody in the microphone and you can't hear what they're saying. I'm talking about live music with instruments, and you can really find the groove and you understand what they're saying. Those type of live bands, and live music events. I'm not into the smoking places that do the hookah. I'm not into any of those things. So I really like to go to upscale, classy places, if you would, when I'm in that mood to go out and about. Of course, now because of what's going on with the COVID, I haven't really been out much at all because I'm just afraid of coming into contact with it. But outside of that, those would really be the things. And I'm into water as well, so I grew up around the water, so I love being on the water sometimes too when it's not too hot because I can't do the heat. But I definitely love being on a jet ski or being on a boat or being in a nice, clean, clear body of water. Not necessarily Galveston, somewhere more so like Bahamas or somewhere like that. I like being in the water and just, letting it all hang, just going free, and enjoying myself and relaxing. So that's some of the things that I like to do. But mostly just being home, listening to music, watching TV, and just spending time with my pups. That's what fulfills me the most. Wow, my favorite sports teams always will be the New Orleans Saints, the New Orleans Pelicans. I love the Houston Rockets. I also love the Houston Texans because I've been in Texas for such a long time, so I've grown to love them. So New Orleans, Houston teams are my absolute all-time favorite teams. I love the Astros as well. Even the Dynamo, I love the Dynamo as well. Those are some of my favorite teams, and then I've kind of grown to love, like the Utah Jazz, because they were once the New Orleans Jazz, and there's just like this connection I have with them. And I've been to Utah several times, and it's just a beautiful place, so you can't help but to love it. And then, of course, I'll like different teams here and there depending on some of the players, some of my favorite players, because I want to, of course, see them succeed. But the all-time favorite teams would definitely be the Saints, the Pels, the Rockets, the Texans, the Astros, the Dynamo. Those are my go-to favorite teams. Those are the teams that I'm watching, supporting, rooting for, going crazy over, talking smack about all the time. Those are the teams that I'm on board for. So my 5-year personal goals would probably be to buy multiple homes if God would allow, um, to be better off financially, to build better wealth for myself and my family, um, to really invest into things that can bring, greater wealth, greater success, and then of course building into others is part of that personal goal as well. I want to be able to open up homeless shelters, and I hate saying a homeless shelter because it just sounds so gross. A place for people who are in transition, um, who need, a place to stay or anything like that, who people who suffer from domestic violence within the family or whatever, any of those things. I want to have that place where they can feel safe. So that's always been a personal goal for myself, is to build, my wealth, my success, so that I can open up those type of places to help others. Maybe having a family, that's kind of one of the goals as well. I've always said I wanted 7 kids, so hopefully I can get started within that 5-year time frame and be done sometime after that. Those are some of the biggest personal goals I have for that 5-year time frame. And then I also want to go back to school to get an MBA in business, because of course, that's where I'm operating in. So I want to, get as much knowledge and education as I can, so that I can one day be able to, successfully and just really be able to teach others, whether it be on a high school level or whatever, collegiate level. I want to be able to do that and just pour the knowledge that was poured into me and into others. The 5-year business goal is to have the restaurants opened and operating, doing well in all of the markets that we're currently in, to build the Soulful Chef brand so that it can become a household brand. They have the cookbooks and everyone is really enjoying that portion of it. On the entertainment side, I hope to at least have 3 of the TV and film projects that we have in the works release, and doing well in the markets all over. That would be a great blessing, and it's certainly part of that 5-year goal. So I really hope and pray that this COVID deal is over with, and then we can resume some level of normalcy so that people can get back to work and we can begin building, building our lives again, because there's so much had to shut down. So those are the 5-year personal and business goals for myself. The end goal for business and personal would be to be multi-millionaire within the next 5 years. So that's what I'm working towards. That's what I'm giving myself towards, and I hope that God will allow me to reach that goal within the next 5 years. So if you guys ever want to connect with me, I'm on social media: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of that stuff. Everything is at Dreux Antoine. So my name is Dreux Antoine. Or you can go to the website dreuxantoine.com and you can connect with me there. You can send me email, whatever you just want to talk. You need to tell me something, you can always hit me up on the website or reach out to me on social media. I don't check all of the social media accounts, so make sure that you're aware of that. Some of the important things are relayed to me. Of course, all of the spam messages and crazy stuff is deleted, and I never will be made aware of it. So connect with me on social media. Reach out to me on the website as well. Again, it's dreuxantoine.com, DREUXANTOINE.com. I look forward to connecting with you guys.